Good morning to all and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is all about NEET exam and exemption. It is related to polity, it is related to exemption when it comes to NEET and specific state, Tamil Nadu state. So it is an important editorial. You may get something like this as a passage because it is related to polity. Is a video on? Fine. And not too many words, easy to understand, but the writer has used two or three idioms. That way it is important. And today you're going to work on errors, para-jumble, fillers, as usual, editorial words. Let us go to the editorial vocabulary. Thank you very much. Not too many words, as I said, and many of these words are familiar words. The first one, assent. Assent means what? The expression of approval or agreement. To give the approval. And assent, there's another word, assent, ASCENT. That means to go up. That goes with mountaineering. Exemption, the action of freeing or state of being free from an obligation or liability imposed on others. When it comes to rules and regulations, we use the word exemption. The law exemption means they are not bound, they are not part of the law, they have the freedom. Mandatory, we have got many a time. Required by law or mandate, compulsory. Attainability, another important word, it means capable of being held, maintained, or defended. In a way, capable of being maintained or being held. Regime, we have got many a time. A government, especially an authoritarian one. Speculation, usually this goes with, it means guess, the forming of a theory without firm evidence. You can also think of the simple word uh, guess. Usually it goes with share market speculations regarding the shares. Discretion, I think we got last week. It has many meanings. The freedom to decide what should be done in a particular situation. Undermine, even this we have got many a time. Lessen the effectiveness, power, or ability of something. Undermine, you can also think of the word weaken. Embodied, I think we have got for the first time, include or contain something as a constituent part. Something is part of something else, then we say it has been embodied. Muster, collect or assemble. You can also think of the word gather. Usually it goes with a number or amount. Muster, sometimes it goes with courage. Muster courage means gather courage. Now let us go to the editorial. How does it start and how does it go about? It starts with two words, NEET and states. What do the letters NEET stand for? National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test, NEET, and states. As I said, this goes with Tamil Nadu state, a particular exemption when it comes to NEET, and the role of the governor. What is the main idea of this editorial? Governor should not delay assent to Tamil Nadu's bill for exemption from mandatory admission test. There are three words over here. One is assent. Assent means what? Approval. Give your assent means give your approval. And exemption. There is a law, but some people are not part of the law. They have the freedom and they're above the law. Then we use the word exemption. Another word in one sentence, there are three important or effective words. Mandatory. Mandatory means what? Compulsory by law. Governor should not delay. So, what is the main idea of this editorial? If you read the editorial, you understand. Way back in 2021, Tamil Nadu Assembly passed a bill that was rejected by the governor. He sent it back to the assembly, and this is the second time the assembly has passed the bill. Now the ball is in the governor's court. This is the actual backdrop or the scenario. Based on this, the editorial has been written whether the governor can do that or not. Governor should not delay. That is the main idea. Assent, delay what? Governor should not delay assent to Tamil Nadu's bill. He should not delay approval to Tamil Nadu's bill. And what is this bill about? exemption from mandatory admission test. At the national level, this is conducted at the national level, NEET, and it is mandatory. What is the meaning of the word mandatory? Compulsory. But here, Tamil Nadu state is asking for exemption for students of government schools and colleges. So, exemption from mandatory admission test. That is a bill, and governor should not delay that particular bill. He has to give his assent. This is the main idea. With the Tamil Nadu Assembly passing once again, that means what? Already they have passed. This is the second time. With the Tamil Nadu Assembly passing once again, its earlier bill seeking to exempt government seats in undergraduate medical and dental courses from the National Eligibility Cum Entrance Test NEET, the ball is once again in the court of Governor R. N. Ravi. This writer has used three idioms. The first one, the ball is once again in the court of Governor R. N. Ravi. As I said, this talks about Tamil Nadu Assembly passing once again its earlier bill. That means what? Already it has passed once. This is a second time. And seeking to exempt, seek, already have got so many times. Means what? Look for, search for. And you all come under, there's one particular term, job seekers, seeking for a job. Seeking to exempt government seats in undergraduate medical and dental courses from the NEET. The ball is once again in the court of Governor R. N. Ravi. This is the second time they are sending to the governor. Now the ball is in the court of Governor R. N. Ravi. Means what? Now the governor has to take the decision. Because of that, the editorial says he should not delay when it comes to giving his approval. The governor had chosen to return to the House for reconsideration the bill that was passed in September 2021. This provides the background information. When, for the first time, they passed the bill in September 2021. And that time, the governor had chosen to return to the House for reconsideration the bill that was passed in September 2021, questioning the tenability of the Justice A.K. Rajan Committee report that had given its findings in favor of the passage of such a law. Now, there is one word here, then it becomes easy for you to understand. Tenability. What does it mean? Capable of being held, maintained, or defended. Here, you can take it as to what extent it can be justified, to what extent it can be defended. The governor, instead of giving his approval or assent, had chosen to return to the House for reconsideration the bill that was passed in September 2021 last year. Why did he do that? He questioning the tenability of the Justice A.K. Rajan Committee report that had given its findings in favor of the passage of such a law. He questioned the A.K. Rajan Committee report, and this particular report had given its findings in favor of the passage of such a law. That means the committee was in favor of such a law, and that was questioned by the governor, especially the tenability of the report. The tenability means what? Capable of being held or maintained or defended. You can also say to what extent it can be justified. The DMK regime, you have got the word regime many a time. A regime means what? Government, especially an authoritarian one. The DMK regime has thrown down the gauntlet. As I said, the writer has used three idioms, important ones that too. Thrown down the gauntlet, has thrown down means what? Present perfect tense. Throw through thrown. Thrown down the gauntlet means what? Given a challenge. To throw a challenge, it means to throw a challenge. The DMK regime has thrown down the gauntlet as the constitution is clear as far as the governor's course of action is concerned. When it comes to the governor's action or course of action, or when it comes to the role of the governor, it is crystal clear. The constitution is clear when it comes to the power or authority or the role of the governor. Based on that, the DMK regime has thrown down the gauntlet as the constitution is clear as far as the governor's course of action is concerned. If the bill is presented to him again, Mr. Ravi is constitutionally bound to grant assent. Now, the second time the bill is presented, he is bound, constitutionally bound to grant assent. That means what? He has no choice. It is like Hobson's choice. He has to grant assent or give the approval. It is a matter of speculation whether the bill will obtain presidential nod. Again, nod means approval. But the episode raises a question whether the governor could not have avoided the current situation by reserving the bill for the president instead of returning it. When the Tamil Nadu Assembly presented the bill, the governor had a choice. Either he could have reserved it for the president's nod or he could have returned. This sentence talks about now it is a matter of speculation. There's one important word. Speculation means what? Guess. It is a matter of speculation whether the bill will obtain presidential nod, but the entire episode could have been avoided. There is one particular expression that is very important from grammar point of view. Could not have avoided, couldn't have avoided the current situation. But the episode raises a question whether the governor could not have avoided the current situation by reserving the bill for the president instead of returning it. Could have avoided, could not have avoided. What does it mean? It talks about a particular situation that belongs to the past. It was to happen. There was a possibility for that to happen, but it did not happen. Then we say, I could have come in time. I could have done this. I could have done that. Means what? There was a possibility, but it did not happen. In a nutshell, the sentence talks about the governor, instead of sending it back to the assembly, he could have sent it to, he could have got or obtained the presidential nod. That would have been better. That is the idea of this sentence. After all, this is clearly a bill that requires the president's acceptance. After all, this is clearly a bill that requires the president's acceptance. That means what? This bill, it's an important bill because it is seeking exemption from something that is mandatory. The exemption from NEET is in conflict with the central law that makes it mandatory. As I said, this has to go to the president. What is the reason? On the one hand, the constitution says, the central law says, NEET is mandatory. On the other hand, the Tamil Nadu Assembly is seeking exemption from something that is mandatory. Based on that, the bill has to go to the president, and the governor should have sent it to the president instead of returning it to the assembly, and therefore can only be saved by the president's assent. Now, finally, it has to go to the president, and the president has to give the assent. Regardless of the bill's merits, the governor should delay the matter no further. Forget about the merits of the bill, whether it is positive, negative, good, bad, pros, cons. Forget about all those things. The editorial says the governor should delay the matter no further. Means what? The governor should not delay the matter. He has to give the assent. He has to give the approval. The original intent here, intent means intention. The original intention of the constitution makers was that the governor, now the editorial talks about the role of governor, that the governor under Article 200 ought to have no discretion, save in the case of a law that undermines the position of the High Court. When it comes to the position of a particular law that undermines the position of the High Court, there is one important word here, two words rather. One is discretion, the freedom to decide what should be done in a particular situation, to decide whether it is good or bad, and undermine, another word, means what? To weaken something, lessen the power of something. The original intent of the constitution makers was that the governor, under Article 200, ought to have no discretion. Governor does not have the discretion, the right to go in for discretion. That's what Article 200 says. Except, save in the case of a law that undermines the position of the High Court. If the law weakens the position of the High Court, he can. Otherwise, he cannot, which he is bound to reserve for the president's consideration. So, this talks about the role of the governor, the power of the governor. However, the governor's rare use of discretion. He cannot use discretion, but it talks about what is in reality, what has been going on in reality. However, the governor's rare use of discretion to question the desirability or validity of a bill and ask for reconsideration is now a matter of constitutional practice. Now it has become something like constitutional practice, the governor using his power of discretion. But constitutionally speaking, he has no right to go in for discretion. That's what it talks about. Some parts of the governor's communication to the Legislative Assembly Speaker seem to suggest that Mr. Ravi disagrees with the basis for the bill, the foundation, even though he is not wrong in highlighting a Supreme Court decision in favor of NEET. When it comes to highlighting the Supreme Court decision in favor of NEET, perhaps he is not wrong. That's what the editorial says. And it seems, there's one particular word, seem means what? Looks like. Some parts of the governor's communication to the Legislative Assembly Speaker seem to suggest that Mr. Ravi disagrees, the governor disagrees with the basis for the bill. So, certain areas perhaps he does not agree. It is not generally desirable for the governor to seek to match wits with the legislature's wisdom on social inputs that inform policy. This talks again about the role of the governor, and the writer has used one more idiom, to seek to match wits. Match wits means to compete, to contest, and to challenge. It is not generally desirable for the governor to seek to match wits with the legislature's wisdom on social inputs that inform policy. It will be useful to recall that the Sarkaria Commission on Center-State Relations observed that the governor should not act contrary to the advice of the Council of Ministers merely because he did not like the policy embodied in the bill. In the past, this talks about Sarkaria Commission. It is related to center-state relations, an important commission, and it observed that the governor should not act contrary to the advice of the Council of Ministers. He has to go with the decision taken by the Council of Ministers. He should not act contrary, means it is opposite. He should not do that merely because he did not like the policy embodied in the bill. Just because he did not like the policy embodied, there's one important word, include or contain as a constituent part of something. How does the editorial end? The attention will now be on whether the NEET exemption bill will pass muster. The attention will now be on what? Whether the NEET exemption bill. This is all about NEET exemption bill, whether it will pass muster. The word muster has two or three meanings, different context. One is collect or assemble, it goes with number or amount. Another meaning to gather. Muster courage means what? Gather courage. For one thing, the exemption may not be a solution to the problem of government school students not making it to MBBS courses in sufficient numbers. That is not the problem. The situation prior to the introduction of NEET was no better. Before NEET, also, the students of government schools, they were not able to make it to MBBS courses in sufficient numbers. However, the issue of NEET being a barrier to access is genuine. This talks about the issue of NEET being a barrier, means a block to access, is genuine. It can be justified. There is no doubt that the mandatory nature of NEET on a pan India basis undermines the role of state governments in medical education. Now, when it comes to this pan India basis, a pan India rule, what is it? NEET is mandatory. There is no doubt that the mandatory nature of NEET on a pan India basis undermines, it weakens the role of state governments in medical education. Now, how does it end? As the main deliverers of public health, the states cannot be denied a say in who joins medical courses in government colleges. This talks about when it comes to public health, states play a major role and they cannot be denied a say when it comes to deciding who joins medical courses in government colleges. So, this is all about the editorial and important in a way because it goes with polity. Now, let us go to the questions based on this editorial. What is this editorial about? Who has thrown down the gauntlet? I have brought a few questions based on the idioms. Who has thrown down the gauntlet? First, you have to know the meaning of the idiom, then you'll be able to answer. What is a matter of speculation in the context of the editorial? There is one key word. What is it? Speculation. What is now a matter of constitutional practice? Two key words. Matter of constitutional practice, clearly mentioned in the editorial. What is not generally desirable for the governor? Generally desirable. What is not generally desirable for the governor? Again, easy to answer based on the keywords. Now, let us go to practice questions. I think today I've done very 21 minutes I could complete very fast, I believe. Anyhow, let us go to practice questions based on exam topics. The first five questions are error location, lengthy sentences, but easy to spot the errors. See, I don't want to go deep into this editorial. The reason being, here our focus is only on proficiency when it comes to English language related to that. And sometimes we do touch the intellectual angle, but this is something we have to spend a lot of time. Now we don't have so much time to discuss the pros and cons of this exemption bill. Within the framework of the editorial, we have to. Beyond that, not advisable on this platform because of the time factor, no other reason. Yes, the priest, together with, you have got so many times when it comes to words like with, along with, together with, as well as, and so many are there, 10 plus. The priest, together with his followers. Here we have two subjects, the priest, his followers. But when we use together with, the verb agrees with the first subject. What is the first subject here? The priest. Second subject, the follower, his followers. So we cannot use a plural verb. The priest, singular, was, we have to say, the priest was fatally injured. Together with his followers, don't consider that. That should be in brackets. Together with his followers, was fatally injured in the accident which occurred last night near the unmanned railway crossing. Usually it happens, unmanned railway crossings are very dangerous. Go to sentence number two. Yes, subject priest, so was. The young woman who is watching television in that room lived here for more than a year, but she has never created any problem for us. This I'm sure you can spot the error, but what exactly is the correct form that you should be able to tell. That is important. Was watching? No, there is no doubt. First part or second part? No, no. I think the context, you have to understand the context. The context goes into the past. Can you use based on that? See, the young woman who is watching, you show someone, the young woman who is watching television in that room lived here for more than a year, but she has never created any problem for us. There is, here we cannot use has, it should be. She had never created any problem for us. It should go into past. Lived here, she had never created any problem for us. We cannot use present perfect over here. It should be past perfect. No, no, has lived is not correct. It should be had lived because the context goes into the past. Lived here for more than, lived here means already over for more than a year. but she had never created any problem for us. The entire context, these two sentences go into past. They go into past. But the young woman who is watching television in that room, present continuous, nothing wrong with this. The entire context goes into the past. That's what I'm trying to tell. Question of the day. That is right. Each of the employees whom the company has chosen to take part in the international seminar to be conducted in the city hall are up to the mark. What is understand, sir? What does it mean? Who is this? Understand what? Kali. What do you want me to understand? Please elaborate. Each of the employees, what is the subject here? Each of the employees, that is a phrase, whom the company has chosen to take part in the international seminar to be conducted in the city hall. This is a clause, and subject is each. Then you cannot use are, is, you have to use singular verb. Is up to, very good, perfect. It is a question related to subject verb agreement. Each is what? It's a pronoun, distributive pronoun. Distributive pronouns are three in number, each, either, neither. And there's one important rule. What is that rule? Distributive pronouns always take a singular verb. Based on that, each is up to the mark. Excuse me. Subject verb agreement. Needless to say, this is again an easy one based on each, either, neither. That is right. Needless to say, no sooner, the moment you see no sooner, hardly, scarcely, barely, you have to think of the combination, one thing, and you have to think of interrogative form. Were all these large and rather expensive operations finished? Nothing wrong here. But check the combination. No sooner takes than, hardly, barely, scarcely, they take when. No sooner were all these large and rather expensive operations finished. When is not correct, we have to use than. No sooner takes than. Already I have given so many times, hardly, barely, scarcely, they take when. That is better. If you recollect right, you will be able to remember. Plastic bags less than 50 microns thick are banned, but neither the states nor the city corporations cares to enforce this rule. Plastic bags less than 50 microns thick are banned, present tense in passive voice. But neither the states nor the city corporations. Yes, two things you have to remember. One is the combination no sooner than, hardly, barely, scarcely, when. You should also think of the other dimension. What is it? The clause should be in the interrogative form. Here, you cannot add s to the verb. Neither the states nor the city corporations. Here we have the nouns in the plural form. Then we cannot add s or es to the verb. Answer is care. Care is correct, not cares. Singular, you have to say cares. But here, the nouns are in the plural form. Then you cannot say cares. An easy one. Let us go to fillers. In the same amount of time it would take me to correct all the in your report. I could write a better report myself. Yes, that is right. In the same amount of time, it would take me to correct all the problems. It talks about the report. In a report, what do you find? Inaccuracies would have been better, obstacles not relevant, disputes not relevant. Obviously, in a report, you find mistakes. Based on that, mistakes. I have recently used the services of his agency to book a cruise in the Mediterranean. Cruise means to sail by ship, long distance. I have recently used the services of his. The clue for you here, agency, travel agency. Obviously, talks about cruise, sailing, travel. So, what is the right word? Progress agency, deportation agency, transfer. They're all irrelevant. Travel agency, because the clue for you, cruise in the Mediterranean. Cruise means what? To travel, to sail, to sail by ship, obviously. They would like local authorities to be given greater as to how the money is spent. Today, this is already have got one word. Based on that, it should be easy for you to answer. Question number 3. Travel agency, yes. They would like local authorities to be given greater discretion. Yes, already have got the word discretion. Means what? The freedom to decide what is right, what is wrong, and to use discretion means to the freedom to decide what is right, what is wrong. Affairs is not correct, function not correct. No, discretion is the right word. You have already got the word discretion today. That way it is easy for you guys. In a 10 billion year old galaxy, there should have been ample for at least one species to escape its own mess and to spread across the stars, filling every niche. Niche means a particular position. Niche marketing, targeting a particular segment. Negligence, opportunity, surveillance, supply, advocacy. In a 10 billion year old galaxy, there should have been ample opportunity. You cannot use the word negligence in this context. Surveillance, that does not go with the context at all. Supply, ample supply, no. Advocacy, no. Advocacy, advocate has two different meanings. One is advocate, lawyer, another one to support a particular cause. What is this? Let us go to question number 5. A true of the resources involved in sport would include the unpaid labor services. Ample opportunity, yes. Abundant. Based on the combination also, you should be able to make out a true consideration. Here it talks about of the resources involved in sport would include the unpaid labor services. Growth cannot be considered. Hold this one. Guidance, no. Suggestion, no. Estimation, which is a better word. It is not consideration. Why should you true consideration of the resources? True estimation of the resources involved in sport would include. It goes with estimation, estimating, not consideration. Answer is Estimation of the resources, not consideration, estimation. Today I have brought an important para jumble and not five parts, there are six parts or seven parts. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. So try to get it right, an important one. But easy, not that difficult. You need some time. I had to reduce the font size. I hope you are able to make out. You can make out. No, no, D is not the first one. D is not the first one. Please read carefully. How come three, four students say D is the first one? No, 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 not at all. How can you take D as the first one? The industry, definite article. That means there should be some reference first. Without the reference, how can you say the industry? How can it be the first one? No, no, never consider a sentence that begins with the definite article the. Exceptions are there, but usually don't consider any sentence that begins with the definite article the. It cannot be the first sentence. You have to eliminate. Answer, the first sentence is E. See, this is an exception. First law, ordinal number. So you have to use a definite article the. This is an exception. The first law of thermodynamics states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, just transferred from one place to another. After that, it becomes easy. It becomes very easy. E is the first one. After that, what? F is the second one. The same. The same seems to apply to the energy industry itself. To justify that statement, now you got to read carefully. EF, fine, 1 and 2. But after that, justification. Based on that, you have to choose the third one. It talks about energy industry itself. No, A is not the third one. No, D is not the third one. Shed means to dispose of. If you focus on the word shed, then you can get 3 and 4. Yes, G is the third one. To justify this statement, the same seems to apply to the energy industry itself. Pressed by investors, activists, and governments, the West's six biggest oil companies have shed 44 billion US dollars of mostly fossil fuel assets since the start of 2018. Shed means to dispose of. Here you have the continuity of thought. The industry is eyeing total disposals worth $128 billion in the coming years, says Wood Mackenzie, a consultancy. Then you have D, E, F, G, D. Very good. Then it should be easy. Last month, something happened. ExxonMobil said it would divest its Canadian shale business. Shell put its remaining Nigerian oil fields on the block. Then you have A, but much of the time these outmoded units are not being closed down. Instead, they're not being closed down. Instead, they are moving from the floodlit world of listed markets to shadier surroundings. Based on that, the opening statement, the first law of thermodynamics, EFGD one group and ABC one group. Has anyone got the correct order? E, F, G, D, one group. A, B, C, one group. Very difficult, not easy. Because you haven't got enough time. If you get enough time, not that difficult. And mind you, guys, this para jumble is from the Economist magazine, international magazine, the Economist magazine. Now let us go to the last slide, editorial vocabulary. Assent, wait for some time, Sai Varun, wait for a few days. Please wait for a few days, 2 or 3 days, couple of days. I'm going to definitely do that, exclusive for bank exams. Just a matter of couple of days, a couple of days. I know many of you are very eager, waiting eagerly for that. I will not let you down. What does it mean? I will not let you down. Means I will not disappoint. Assent, he has given his assent. Means what? Noun. Approval. Nod. Where is this? Give approval. Exemption. Free from obligation. Usually rules, regulations, law. Exemption, noun. And I is the answer. Tenability. Capable of being maintained or defended. Here, noun, answer, capable of being defended. Yes. You will get more than what you can think of. Who is this? Please don't use the word fans and all. Who is this guy? Rocky Bhai. Same student, I suppose. Let us go to tenability. A is the answer. Mandatory. Mandatory means what? Compulsory. So, what part of speech is it? Mandatory attendance, mandatory policy, mandatory appearance. So, it is adjective. Compulsory. G. Speculation. Noun. Guess. Simple word. J. Discretion. Freedom to decide what is right, what is wrong, in which direction you have to go. Noun. Answer. F. Regime, an authoritarian government. B is the answer. Embodied, embody verb, embodied, it's a regular verb. Include or contain. And be, uh, please don't use all those words. Be part of a particular thing, constituent part of something. Undermine verb means what? Lessen the power or weaken. Master also verb, gather, collect. So assemble. What are you left with? D. If let's say you have got all the 10 correct, then you should be very happy. That's all for today. Hope you guys have got enriched. Do remember to subscribe and share. Join Murthy's English Telegram group. And also after the session, I'll provide the PDF. Try to work on important questions. Simply don't download and keep it like that. Whatever you find difficult, whatever you could not answer, spend some time and tell yourself, oh, this is where I made a mistake. And that analysis will help in the long run. Have a nice day. Thank you very much.